So just bear with us while we just check and share. While we just wait for people to gather. Yes, we are live. Oh, I've never been able to share to a page before. Fancy that. Hi to those that are with us. We are just sharing. If you feel to share, share, share. Sharing is caring. There's one more, I think. So welcome everybody. Just open that so I can see your comments. Hi, Angel, Vicky, Heather, Sana, Olga, and Shaz. So it's funny that we're calling this Embodying Love, because it's been quite difficult for me today to get into that space of love. Not been feeling it since I woke up, which is interesting. And sometimes I find when we have light language activations kind of brewing inside us that we're often holding the opposite vibration. I'm just going to put this on gallery view. There we go. So here's Damian. Hi, Damian.
Hi all.
And welcome everybody. This is our first collaboration of this kind, of this nature. And this is a free call. And we will also be putting a PayPal link should anybody wish to donate if you find this helpful. But also if you share, if you think someone else will benefit from this, please share. And we are going to start with a little heart opening. And then we are going to share some techniques and just really see what flows as to embodying love. I'm finding it really hard to speak English. And then we will have a light language activation at the end. So Damian, is there anything you want to share at this point, or shall I go straight into the heart opening?
We can just jump straight in. Thank you.
Thank you. So let us take a few long and slow deep breaths. And just focus on your breathing, on your in-breath and your out-breath. And let us breathe in love, breathing love into every cell of your body. Breathing love into your heart. And breathing out anything of the day so far, anything of the day ahead or the week. Anything that is taking you away from this now moment. And let us just say to our beautiful hearts, I love you. I love you. I love you. And connecting all of our hearts together, all of us watching live now or on the replay or on YouTube. And as we send love out from our hearts to all of the hearts present with us now, let us send love to all hearts on the planet. And as we do this, we're creating a beautiful web of love that goes all around the globe, all around Earth. And let us connect our hearts to the heart of Gaia, feeling our energy moving down through all of the layers of Earth. Connecting with the New Earth templates, the crystalline grid of energy, and the crystalline diamond heart of Gaia. And feeling Gaia's love and her beautiful nurturing energy coming back to you. And if this works for you, just visualizing roots growing down from the base of your spine, your coccyx, down from your feet, really embedding into the heart of Gaia. And connecting our hearts to the solar energy, the solar logos, our sun. And to source energy. And breathing deeply, breathing in love, breathing out love. And with our awareness still in our hearts, I shall at this point pass over to you, Damian. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining. Just wanted to share with you, as a brief introduction, a very simple technique that you can utilize in order to support this focus of a deeper embodiment of love. So many of you will most likely already be familiar that in most traditions there is what is referred to as the threefold flame that resides within the very core of our heart. And this threefold flame is seen to represent the Trinity being that expression of divinity that arises as love, power, and wisdom. And so just inviting you in this moment just to gently begin to bring the focus of your awareness to that flame. Now, some people may experience that as a flame, some people may experience it as a light, some people may experience it as a sound or simply as pure energetic sensation. knowing there's no wrong or right way to experience this. It's simply a focus of intention that you're holding to open and surrender into connection with what I'm calling this flame. I'm calling this essence of love, of wisdom, and of power that is held within the very core of your heart. As you let go into that, you just begin to have the sense of the breath arising through that, as if the breath were somehow in a indivisible focus of intimacy with that flame. And so as you breathe, you are breathing that flame. There's no place where the breath begins or ends, and that flame begins or ends. They exist as an indivisible union. And just gently breathing from your heart down into your tailbone, putting into a focus of the awareness of where your tailbone and your heart exist as one. And then beginning to circulate the breath and to circulate the flame through what in most traditions is referred to as the microcosmic orbit. And so breathing the flame through that channel which connects your root and your crown, through the back of your body, and then breathing the flame down through that channel. It sits within the front of your body and connects your crown and root. Just breathing through that circuit, recognizing how, as it is that you breathe through that circuit, you are also breathing through each of your chakras. And it's the very simple action of breathing within this fashion that has a centering and balancing effect. It has the effect of harmonizing, aligning each of your chakras, all of your energy pathways. And as you continue to breathe within this fashion, you may also begin to have an awareness of something beginning to open through the core of your spine. And as you rest into that, Have the sense of that as a kind of doorway into something deeper. And it's really as you open into a focus of the awareness of what we're calling that doorway, that you open into this focus of a deeper embodiment of love. Like through this doorway that opens within your spine as you breathe within this fashion. Something deeper can begin to arise. And though we call this love, you can also open into an appreciation of how it is through mind. We really have no appreciation or understanding of what that really means. Of course, we have concepts and beliefs within relationship to what that means. But as we open to what is deeper, we open to what is beyond our concepts, beyond our beliefs. And in that, the truth of love can establish itself here, express itself here, within a deeper fashion. So that's just a very simple technique that I wanted to share as a meditational practice that you can take away and sit with yourself and explore whatever your own experience with that is and what that provides for you within your own life. And very often we can sit within the experience of meditation. We can learn and even practice these techniques. But then the question arises of what is their practical application within our lives? How do we really bring our meditation practice forth and forward into life? And the simplest answer that I can offer to that is that really this emerges through our willingness to dedicate ourselves to our practice without expectation. When we let go of the expectation of how our meditation practice should impact our lives, and we can really be surrendered into a space of simply showing up through our practice from that space of surrender. It's that that truly invites grace through our practice. When we are free from trying to manipulate our practice or control our practice of meditation to arrive at a predetermined goal, or result is really when we begin to see the grace that is inherent within our practice arising and emerging. And of course, this also relates to our deeper embodiment of love, as this also takes us into that deeper focus of surrender, that deeper focus of where we are able to relinquish control. And in relinquishing control, we are able to truly be intimate with life, with ourselves, and with one another. I'm just going to pass back to Denise now.
Thank you. Just a little question, actually, before I move into this. The threefold flame. I have a vision of like 3 different colours that make up the violet flame. Is it this? Is that the same thing?
The violet flame and the threefold flame are traditionally seen as different. The violet flame is associated with the 7th ray, which is the violet ray of alchemy, magic, transformation. And then the threefold flame is seen to be associated with the first three rays. We'll pronounce that correctly. So love, wisdom, power. And traditionally the colors of such are seen as gold, pink, blue.
Okay, so what I'm going to do for this was something that dropped in quite a long time ago, and I haven't been doing it for ages, but it's a really beautiful way of kind of dropping into your heart space. And I'm going to invite anyone that wishes to stand up for this, and I'm going to move the computer around. Okay, can you still hear me okay? Brilliant. All right, let's move that back a bit. So this, it's like a triple flame. Sorry, a triple heart. Got the triple flame on the brain. So for this, we put our hands together and your thumbs just kind of in the center of your chest. And we're going to create a heart with our hands. Space in here. So bring your hands up and we're creating one big heart, and then bringing our hands together, but at the base. So it starts at the heart and it's one big heart, and hands together at the base. So that's the first one. But actually, what I normally do when my hands are together in the chest is really bring my awareness to my heart and breathe in love. So once you've done that, big heart, and connect to the base chakra. And from here, connect to Gaia, connect to earth energy. So I feel my heart energy going down through my body, out through my feet, out through my coccyx, all the way down to the crystal heart of Gaia. And then once you feel that heart-to-heart connection with Gaia, bringing your hands up through your body. So it's like you're bringing Gaia's energy up through your whole energy system. I usually turn around my hands around my heart and still keep on going until you get up to your soul star chakra above your head. And then from here, creating another heart that's upside down. So this is like the top of the heart. And again, to your heart space centrally. So you have Gaia's energy, you're really connected to Gaia energy from here, and Gaia's energy is moving through all of your chakras. And then from here, going straight up to your third eye chakra. But what I feel is happening here is it's creating alignment and coherence between your heart and your mind. And then from here, opening your hands up like a vessel. And here you're connecting to source energy. And, imagine that you are a vessel, you're a vase. And source energy is pouring in through your hands and through your crown. So we bring our hands together here and bring that source energy down through all of the chakras, all the way down to the base, again, as we did before. And then the third one is to surround ourselves with love. So the last heart is from here and it goes here. And then I just bring my hands together at the back. So from here and creating the last heart. So we're enveloped in love. And I think, for some people are very visual, and then, visual things work really well. But that one I like because I'm more of a feeler. So for me to actually move my body and feel the energy, feel that love. And doing this in the morning is a great way to put yourself in your heart space for the start of the day. So I'm just going to plug this back in. Yeah, I'm still here. The computer didn't switch off. Okay. So those are a couple of really simple techniques. And for me, the embodiment of love, being in your heart space, is something that we often dip in and out of, I find. You can be in your heart space and then something happens, you get triggered, and then boom, you're out of your heart space. And for me, it feels like you go down to kind of solar plexus. So a lot of this is about being in that place of observance, observing where we're at, being really gentle with ourselves when we realize that's happened. And as soon as you realize, you can breathe up to your heart again, breathe back into your heart space, and breathe out those energies that may be taking you away from that. Now, that's not to say that, also look at the trigger, look at what's going on. I'm not suggesting that, we bypass the situation. But when you feel that happen, just bringing yourself back to your heart space, and even to look at your trigger through your heart space as well, through that space of love. And it's like lots of things. When we first start doing it, we realize how often we're not in our heart space. When you bring your awareness to it, you realize that you're not in your heart space a lot of the time. And that's okay. It's a process. So being gentle with ourselves is really important. And there are some techniques that I've used over the years, simple techniques. The one that I did at the beginning, bringing your awareness to your heart space, saying to your beautiful heart, I love you, is so, so powerful. And what comes up for us when we do that? Do we find resistance? Are we kind of like saying it through gritted teeth a little bit? Because this is saying to ourselves, I love you. In some ways, it's easier to say it to our heart than to the whole of ourselves. And another technique from that is to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. Like, look yourself straight in the eye and say, I love you. And that, for me, when I first started doing that, was a real challenge. I've worked on self-love for many, many years, but when I first started, I really wasn't in that place of self-love. I was quite mean to myself, and would give other people, was a lot kinder to other people than I was to myself. And that was kind of brought to my attention. And I thought up until that point that I wasn't hard enough on myself. I thought, you've got to like crack the whip and really push yourself. But no, it's much more in our interest to be much more gentle with ourselves and kind. So even techniques like in the shower, when you're washing your body, say to your body, I love you. And be very loving with our bodies. That's somewhere I think that a lot of us have a bit of catch up to do to actually love our physical bodies. I think most of us have had, if not all of us, have had body issues. There are parts of our bodies that we may love. But there are parts that we're like, I love all my body, but I'm not so keen on that bit. Not so keen on that bit. And that's a bit of a challenge. So when you're in the shower and actually washing your body, do it really lovingly. Often we just, want to get in the shower, out the shower, but if we're actually really, it's a beautiful opportunity to connect with our bodies and say thank you to our bodies as well. Thank our feet. Our feet carry us around, our feet and legs, they carry us around all the time. How often do we actually show gratitude for our bodies and actually say thank you? And another thing that's coming up as well is relating to self-worth, which is all part of this self-love and the embodiment of love. Boundaries. Learning to say no. When I started on this journey, I didn't know what boundaries were. I had no idea about boundaries. And the concept of boundaries is much more spoken about these days. But, 15, 20 years ago, it wasn't so much. So boundaries and setting boundaries is a huge part of the really loving ourselves and knowing. Often we're people pleasers and we don't like to make people unhappy. We don't like to displease people. So learning to say no when you're a people pleaser is a huge one. And also recognizing when you're giving and giving and giving and not receiving in return. This is something that's really crucial to heart energy balance because it's a flow. So if all we're doing is giving out, then it's not coming back to us. So recognizing, how much are we giving? How much are we in balance here? If there's anything you want to add to any of these, Damian, just holler.
I will do. I will do. Thank you.
And another thing on my list that is really jumping out at me is self-forgiveness. And this is huge. This is huge on the path of embodying love. And it's linked to what I was saying before about being kind to ourselves. Forgiveness is a funny one because when we hold on to energies about situations, we kind of need to go through that process of forgiveness to let those things go, to no longer hold that energy. And as we move on in our spiritual journey, we also recognize that we have created all the situations in our lives. So it's not always so much the other person that we need to forgive, but ourselves, and recognize that every situation that we've created for ourselves is moving us on in some way. It's we might see it as negative, but actually we're learning from it. And it's often showing us, as our triggers are, which part of ourselves we're not loving. It shows us those areas in our lives where we're not as loving towards ourselves as we might be. Anything you want to add, Damian?
Not at present. I'm just enjoying your flow of consciousness and sitting in, and I have stuff percolating in the field also, but just letting you share your own stream and then moving into that.
So being in that place of observance, where are we judging others? And in that, where are we judging ourselves too harshly? Comparisons is another thing as well. If I can suggest that we avoid comparisons, because everyone is on their own journey, everyone's had different experiences in life. So when we compare ourselves to other people, it's not really, you know, I think it was Osho that said something around trees don't compare themselves to each other. You know, an oak tree doesn't compare itself to a bamboo because they're just different. So when we're comparing ourselves to other people, we're putting ourselves in a position of either we're feeling superior to them or we're making ourselves feel inferior. Gratitude is a huge one. And bringing in that sense of gratitude, especially in the morning, because when we first wake up, that's kind of often setting the scene for the day. So having things written on the wall opposite where you look when you wake up of things that you're grateful for. And that really brings those kind of light emotions of the heart, gratitude and joy. I think all emotions are emotions of the heart, even the heavier ones. But gratitude and joy to start your day really kind of sets the scene. So keeping a gratitude journal as well. And let's have a think now. What are 3 things that you're grateful for? I'm grateful for all the technology that we have at the moment, that we're able to connect worldwide on a call such as this. And in that, I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for my functioning physical body. And I'm hugely grateful for nature. Birds singing outside are reminding me the wonders of nature, the wonders of the trees. And I'm also grateful for all of the times of pain in my life. I'm grateful for the times when I've not been happy because of all that I've learned, because of all the ways that I've grown. So I'm grateful for situations of disempowerment because that led me to become much more self-empowered. Positive affirmations are another really helpful way of expressing our gratitude, but also of moving, of where we want to move to. The words that come after I am are really, really powerful. So let us put positive words after I am. And taking time for you is huge on the self-love journey. Doing things for yourself that you might think are other people's roles, buying yourself flowers, and actually just taking the time of quiet for you. Often our lives are so busy that we're so busy doing things for everyone else, and we forget about ourselves. And especially mums. There's almost an expectation for a mother to put everyone else's needs before her own. But it is that old oxygen mask coming down in the plane analogy. You know, we have to look after ourselves first and put our own breathable equipment on so that we have all that energy to give to someone else. An expression of your creativity as well, that feels to me actually quite a key aspect of self-love. Taking the time to express ourselves creatively, allowing those new ways, those new creative ways of expression. It's not like when we're 18 and leave school that suddenly all that creativity stops and suddenly all the ways that we can learn and grow stop. And letting go of trauma and blame. Go on.
Sorry, I was going to, but please continue. I was just going to continue on from your comment around love and gratitude.
Go on.
Yes, so just to continue that thread, in some traditions, there's what's referred to as the three ascension attitudes, which are love, gratitude, and praise. And so we've spoken a little about love and also a little about gratitude. And then really this third quality of praise is really that place where we are just in awe of the wonder of life. We're really open to the mystery of life that way. And that touches upon what I was mentioning earlier, from that space of where we are not in that place of expectation or demand. We're really open to the mystery, so we're not placing our projected conceptual image of what we perceive life to be upon it. And when we live from those three attitudes, we are really deepening in this process of the embodiment of love. We're really in that place where we understand that truly all of life arises from love and is love. As Denise was touching upon earlier, we can also enter into this space of deep gratitude for even what we may experience as the more challenging aspects of our lives. And of course, as Denise was mentioning, that doesn't mean that we bypass or we utilize spiritual teachings to avoid the very real experiences of pain that we can encounter within life. But by applying these principles to those experiences, our very experience of that pain begins to transform, and we can see it in a new light. So it doesn't mean that we no longer feel pain, it doesn't mean that we no longer feel hurt, but we are able to embrace that with an attitude of openness, an attitude of acceptance. And even if we're not able to embrace it with an attitude of openness and acceptance, and we find resistance there, we find control, we can hold compassion for ourselves within that. And we can hold compassion for others within that space, where we can see how truly difficult it is to really open to this fully, because opening to this fully takes a depth of commitment, it takes a depth of humility, it takes a depth of real dedication to our practice. It takes a depth of, as I was touching upon earlier, that space where we're really open to showing up in a surrendered way without expectation. And as we can open into a deep recognition of that, we can also open into a recognition of how we are all the same in terms of how we struggle, all the same in terms of how we are sometimes challenged by life. And as we open into that, we also open into this deeper space of an embodiment of love. We open into a deeper space of being able to be with others from a place where we are not projecting our expectations or our demands upon them. We're not coming from a place of, well, this person should be loving, this person should treat me like this. Because when we do that, we're immediately in disconnection. We've immediately lost that sense of that deep presence of love that is always there in the background. And even after we experience deep betrayal, loss, the breakdown of a relationship, and there's all that other stuff that we get caught in within that, there's the thread of love that runs through all of that. It's always present underneath that stuff. That doesn't mean that that other stuff isn't also present and there, but we can always return to that depth of love and recognize its presence within all of that. And when we can catch that, even if momentarily, it changes our relationship with all of that stuff. We're no longer caught up within that mind spin. And again, that brings us back to those three ascension attitudes of love, praise, and gratitude, which can also be seen to relate to the qualities of the threefold flame in terms of love, wisdom, and power. If we really apply wisdom, wisdom is applied through that principle of gratitude and that principle of praise. It's applied through that space of really seeing reality as it truly is. So when we're really open to the mystery of life, the wonder of life, the awe of life, and then the love that is present within that. When we're coming from a place of praise, when we're coming from a place of gratitude, naturally there's love, there's intimacy, and there's connection within that. And then really that marriage of love and wisdom being what gives birth to power, which is really that focus of the arising of divine intention through us, or right action within the world. And when we're coming from that deep place of wisdom and clarity, seeing reality as it is, and coming from love and compassion without expectation within that, there's what we could refer to as true power within that. Any other sense of power is really ultimately based within our conditioned views of what power is, our desire to manipulate life in terms of how we believe or perceive it should be. And so applying those three attitudes with the practice that I gave earlier in terms of opening to the breath through the microcosmic orbit is another way in which we can simply deepen our embodiment of love. We can deepen into our focus of relationship with the divine and ultimately really come to recognize our true nature as divinity.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing the praise in there as well, because that's something that I don't know if I do so much, actually. I can see parts of myself that I'm grateful for. And I can kind of give myself a little bit of a pat on the back, but I don't think I do that enough. So thank you for bringing up praise. So there's two things I wanted to touch on next. One is embodiment of light as well, which really marries well with the embodiment of love. So for me on my journey, one of the ways that I've filled myself up with more light is doing energy work on myself and bringing in the light, focusing on my body, focusing on the areas that feel dense, the areas in my body where the energy isn't flowing so well, and really bringing in the light to those areas, but being gentle with myself in this process as well, and very loving with my body. So I've, for many years, had a lot of pain in my body, and the instinct is to just want to get rid of the pain. Um, Whereas now I have a different approach, and I'm very loving with that part of the body. Instead of it just being like, oh, pain, get it out of my field, it's more like thanking that part of my body, thanking the pain, speaking to it really gently and speaking to my body really gently and lovingly, and asking, what is it showing me? What can I learn from this? And just check my notes, see if there was something else I wanted to add to that. And just to add, really, that for me, it's been a really, really useful tool. Being able to bring the energy in strongly, having been, I mean, anybody can bring energy in. But for me, having Reiki attunements was the way that it really helped bring more light into my body. And it's been a really, really key ascension kind of tool with that as well. And linked to that is the trauma that we've been through. How do we look at the trauma? Are we willing to let go of things? Are we willing to release? Because sometimes we get attached to the stories as well. But are we willing to let go of those stories? And the forgiveness thing as well, even if we're not in a place of forgiveness, am I willing to forgive? And even just saying, I am willing to, plus forgive or let go or whatever comes afterwards, is really powerful. And it starts the ball rolling, it starts that process happening. And the other thing for me that has been important in this journey is relating to fear. So as a child, I was very, very fearful. I was fearful of everything, really. I was scared of the dark, scared of everything. So it's been quite a journey for me to be less in the place of fear and worry and more in the space of love. So what I do these days, if I feel that I'm fearful, and there's been a lot of, because there's so much collective fear around at the moment, a lot of us have felt fear, but it's not even our fear, it's collective fear. So one time springs to mind when that happened recently, and I could feel so much fear in my body. And so I started to focus on my breathing. I was doing the 4-4-4 breathing. So in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. And it's also called box breathing. And I was asking the fear what it was doing there, what its purpose was. But I found that after a very short time, like probably not even 2 minutes of focusing on my breathing, that the fear had gone. And breath work is so, so key, I find, in this journey. And it's something that that I've had more awareness of this year, doing a foundation breathwork course. But even up until that point, this year especially, I've been much more focusing on breath work and breathing. And there are many different kinds of breath work out there, but just the simple act of focusing on your breathing kind of gets you more centered and more in your heart space because you're less fearful. Have you anything to add to that?
Yeah, just in terms of what you were speaking about in relation to receiving the light, also, it's really that depth of our capacity to open to love, which broadens our capacity to receive the light. Also, if we see the light as really relating to wisdom or clear seeing, obviously the light having a quality of illumination. If we just bring in the load of light and we shine a light on all our stuff, there's going to be a freak out in the system. The system's just going to go, whoa. Whereas obviously if that's held, as you were describing, with that depth of gentleness, that depth of kindness, that depth of compassion, there's a safe container for that to be received and to be embodied, and vice versa, in terms of as we open into a deeper focus of wisdom, a deeper focus of the capacity to really see ourselves, that also deepens us in love, because it deepens us in compassion. It deepens us in an awareness of, as I was touching upon earlier, our challenges, our struggles, um, the way in which we can relate to all of humanity within that fashion. And so love and light, the left and right hands, same body. And as I was touching upon earlier, really how that marriage of love and light gives rise to right action and to power. And so even though we're talking about the embodiment of love here, we can really see it as relating to what we firstly touched upon in terms of that threefold flame or essence, and the relationship, for want of a better word, between those three qualities. Really, ultimately, they're all one, but we talk about them in terms of love, light, and power, um, as a way in which the mind can work with them. We can give techniques and processes for working with them in that way. What else to say in relationship to that? I think that covers it. Just a little snippet that came to mind, considering you were talking about light also.
Something I wanted to add to what we were saying before, actually, about things that we're grateful for. We often focus on what we're not doing, or what we haven't done so well. So actually doing a list of your achievements as well is a really good way of actually bringing the focus back to the positive instead of all the things that we're not doing. And I also wanted to just go back to spending time in nature. So there's many aspects to this. Being surrounded by green is an amazing way to strengthen your heart chakra. Imagining you're surrounded by green light, for example, and breathing it into your heart space, or pink, or gold as well. Like I work a lot with the gold ray, and more recently the platinum ray as well. But also being in nature, it just, you just release things without trying. If you're going for a walk in nature, especially when you're surrounded by the trees, things are just flying out of you. Like a lot of the it's hard to still be angry when you're out in nature. It's hard to still hang on to all those feelings when you're out in nature. I find anyway, when you're walking around in nature, and take the time to stomp your feet, like have ways, techniques that work for you to actually release those energies that are preventing us being in that space of love. Stamp your feet, shout like a child having a tantrum. I heartily endorse the tantrum. Not necessarily in public, but if you can find a place to do that where you can't be seen, really go for it. And really, the old kind of pillow bashing, whatever works for you. For me, I find doing light language activations really, really works for me when I'm out in nature. And it becomes almost a bit of a dance. I'll be stomping my feet, I'll be like, rah, just letting the sounds out that are appropriate to kind of like hissing. If you're not in a place where you can scream or you can like rah, really loud, a hiss, you bring a hiss up from deep in your belly, and it's such a quiet sound as well. So you know, if you're in a house with other people and you need to release, doing that is a great way of doing it. I remember one time when I was sharing a house with somebody, and so there were people in the house, but I had so much like anger, so much stuff that needed to come out, and I was kind of pillow bashing, but there was a mirror, and I was trying to pillow bash quietly. And as I was doing it, I was trying to put as much effort as I could into each one, but all my hair would come down over my face, and I'd catch myself in the mirror looking like an absolute crazy lady, which then made me laugh. And laughter is an amazing way of bringing stuff out. And obviously, you know, it doesn't always work to force the laughter. But if you can, you know, sometimes when we've laughed and laughed and laughed and you can feel it's a real belly laugh, you're exhausted afterwards because you've released so much energy, so much pent up, stuck energy. So, yeah, laughter is such an amazing, amazing way. Have you anything to add at this point?
I just wanted to invite everyone just on a little exploration. You just want to place one of your hands on your heart if it's comfortable for you to do so. And just open into the exploration of the question of how deeply are you able to truly let love in? And it's more so that you let that question answer itself. It's not so much that you are trying to arrive at an answer to that question. All sorts of memories, stories, concepts, ideas may arise within relationship to that question. But you can just see those as weather passing through. Again, it's more so that you're just allowing that question to answer itself, to open into a space where the question and even the questioner disappear. And in that space, there's a kind of letting go, or dying into love. There's the opportunity for something deeper to emerge. Sitting there for a few moments. Just opening to the transmission of what's shared through that question. And what that question points towards. What it opens us to. Opening us to the possibility that perhaps we could let love in a deeper fashion. Not that we are going and seeking and searching for love. Rather, we are simply allowing the love that's already here in. Inviting you to sit with that exploration for a little while longer. Again, that's a very simple technique that you can sit with. And again, to emphasize that it's not that you're seeking or searching for love. It's more so you are simply opening to the possibility that perhaps the love that's already present here can be let in a deeper fashion. Well, this isn't an exact quote, but Rumi spoke of how our task is not so much to seek for love, but rather to discover all of the barriers that we ourselves have built to it. And this is really the invitation here. Because love is always present. Always here as what we truly are. It's only really that we become caught with a mind and patterns of identity that obscure our direct experience of that. And so again, this is just another simple practice or technique or meditation or question that you can sit with enter into contemplation of. Again, with that spirit of openness and non-expectation. You can just notice here now how perhaps something has changed, or perhaps not. Again, we enter into our practice from this place of non-expectation, this place of openness that invites grace. So you simply notice what you notice. It's just our willingness to open to love that really invites that in, invites that grace. Invites what's deeper than our everyday experience of ourselves. And then that simply becomes the norm. Nothing extraordinary about it, because it's simply who and what we are. We always have been. So thank you for joining me for this short contemplation.
Thank you, Damian. And that has just reminded me of a meditation that I used to do a while ago, which is one to focus on our hearts. So it's very similar. It's very similar to the contemplation that Damian has just shared, but it's more of a visualization. So it's about imagining our hearts and how they are. Now, if you're a bit squeamish and you don't want to imagine your physical heart as it beats, imagining your heart in terms of this wonderful cushion. So, like an emblem of your heart. So, I invite us now just to take a little journey and visualizing that we're in a beautiful pink rose quartz room inside a rose quartz temple. And in this space, we're going to imagine and visualize what our hearts are like. Sometimes when we've been hurt, we protect our hearts. So our heart might be held within walls. You might see walls around your heart. Or just layers of protection like armor. And whatever you see within your heart, you have the tools within you to heal that. So your heart may have tears where it's been broken open, and you might gather a golden needle and thread and just sew up those tears. Your heart may be very small and not plumped up like this cushion. It may be looking drained. So if that's the case, maybe just imagine golden light, almost like an intravenous drip going into your heart and filling your heart up with this golden light. Or imagine that you're breathing love into your heart so that it can expand. If you're seeing layers of armor around your heart, maybe like sometimes in sessions, I see people's hearts as though they're wearing like leather jackets as armor. And then just visualize peeling away this armor to whatever level you feel comfortable with. And if it doesn't feel comfortable, you don't have to do it. Are you seeing gaps in the energy? Fill them up. And just be creative with this process. And it's something that you can go back to as well and see how your heart has responded to this. And if you feel your heart is really in deep need of nurturing, you can put something in place that continues to drip in, like this intravenous drip. This drip bag can be an everlasting supply. You can hold your heart in your hands and give it universal love and say thank you and say, I love you. And then see your heart begin to expand with this love. And some positive affirmations, specifically for the heart. I love myself for who I am and the potential within me. I love myself for who I am and the potential within me. I love myself for who I am and the potential within me. And if that doesn't feel comfortable, just put in the words, I am willing to before that. I am willing to love myself for who I am and the potential within me. And another affirmation I've used a lot over the years, I give love, I feel love, I am love. I give love, I feel love, I am love. And not forgetting, I am open to receive all the love that this abundant universe has to offer. I am open to receive all the love that this abundant universe has to offer. It's really nice to hold.
So just leading on from that, moving into sharing some light language to support the integration of all of that we've been sharing, to also support a deepening into whatsoever it may be that the next step, your own unique path is. Schlish, krish, krum, dush, krotish, kram, bush, krotash, kiram, bush, kro. Just rest in your heart. The sense of the presence of grace and of love arising through your heart as a blessing all within your life. Blessing that takes you deeper into love. Blessing that brings to you all of that which you may uniquely require at this time in order to go deeper, in order to open into the embrace of whatever your next step is. As it is that this love and this grace arise within and through you, you may also begin to experience a kind of unburdening, a kind of letting go, kind of relaxation, a release. You may begin to open into a focus of the awareness of angelic presence within the field of the space around you. That angelic presence interacting with your consciousness, subtle energetic systems, your body-mind, in order to deliver to you grace, in order to deliver to you qualities of peace, joy, empathy, kindness, compassion, strength, and what we could term as being deliverance. Deliverance being that which lifts us out of the experience of ourselves as separate, divided, disconnected, into a profound depth of intimacy with the truth of what we are as love. You can just rest into a focus of the awareness of the tonal frequency waves shared through this language, weaving themselves now into and through all of your subtle heart channels, opening, expanding, strengthening those channels, deepening you in heart, opening you to the truth of who and what you are. Opening you in love, bringing you to that place where even love disappears into its source. Just resting here for a while, just receiving the transmission of that as a coming home to yourself. Blessed be.
And bringing into our hearts now the emerald ray, the crystalline emerald ray of light. Activating within our hearts the crystalline diamond codes of light. Nihiamaroid eran ea kum iaro. Enekiara no kusht aran aya od oya. Kul hian era in oi ait uist adadada oina. Kil iaro no iaro. Kam or at asht arale in adodo do oin. Melera unokia. Ohian ore ut oya. Kil ihia od ore. No mo oyat un eat oya. Oh, you, Ele aron obered ara. Ekele aren iarot un erot ara. Kel ihiam me aron o kuist. Eran od ara lemekiana don. Nemekiele iara. Onhan eralan od oran. Kelebarat iara kut orat kabadada. Enemeked lera no kulebarat onako Ekian arat oist aral ea an okum a. Kel ehian ne aro no era. Ekele bara nekiana ana kiele iaro okuista. Nemahan era an okul a durat an. Ekele era on oya. Eran o karato to unamakile era ono koto totoya. Kel ehia oton mbet ara. Ke erad on oist ara ki at ara era ika a ut un era iarot un ubrat atanaki et ut urat a kut urt ana barat kiarot ut ohia nama hum era ihia et ehia me et ura ukum mbata a ekiarlane ki et una ara Hunna la baret ki lebe kiana da tulla paket data el I aron ohin iara kumbeta hele ina arakot on ara o arat an ehia on urt an idea na yakdurla pakiara na ketukutua kudla paketa to stukla pane kiara don hulle hia nera utona ekist arale yanokum e tera donne jakun ele jamma onno kuia. Kolea sta hana kiat on, hol arhana kiella barata kiana. Arlea manaya castero, ul arana mekiaman ara, est aran awakun ma ero, Okay, est ora dora ebaradena kiela en iena an okoia nestea ikina era indotol or la padera ost So breathing deeply, bringing your awareness back to your heart space in the center of your chest. Moving your body, rolling your shoulders, wiggling your fingers and toes. Your eyes are closed when you're ready, opening them. Feeling that grounded connection to the heart of Gaia, to the new earth templates. Do you wish to just acknowledge Merlin at this point? Because without Merlin, this might not have happened.
Yes, Merlin gave me the prod to get in touch with Denise and suggest this. And by Merlin here, I'm not referring to what most of you are likely familiar with in terms of the historical figure, referring to Merlin more as the avataric expression of divinity that embodies pure magic, the magic that's at the heart of life, which again is simply love. So thanks to Merlin, here we are.
And thank you to everyone who has been present on the call. Thank you to you, Damian.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of the beings of light as well. And just as we're closing, we're on two people. Oh, it's gone. 20. So if you found this helpful, please share it along. And if you're feeling drawn to offer a contribution, all welcome. And I'll put my PayPal in the comments. Please make sure that you put that it's for this, and I'll be sure to pass on half of it to Damian. And if you're not in a position to do that, that's absolutely fine. Just share the love. Okay. Thank you. Anything else you want to say, Damian, before we stop the live stream?
Just a thank you all for being here. Thank you for all of you who are also connecting with the replay. And just to reiterate that it really is this profound depth of love that lives within you. This love that has the capacity to meet all within life, even when we are deeply challenged by the circumstances of life. There is always this underlying presence of love that we can always come home to, always connect with. And truly this is so needed within the world. truly this depth of compassion where we can really meet life from a place of sanity, a place of clear seeing, a place of connection, because it's really only from that place of love that the world that we are so wishing to enter into is going to be born and created. And truly, it's from that place of deep heart connection, deep intimacy, deep allowance of life as it is that we enter into the experience of what so many have prophesized as the new world. And we really open into the recognition that that world is already present, already here. It's only ourselves within our identification with mind that separate ourselves from that. Really, that world is as close as that, as close as our own breath. It's not something that is separate to us in any way, but to enter into that world, to enter into that depth of a embodied experience of that does require this stripping away of those layers of egoic identification. It does require a process, so to speak. So whilst it is true to say that that world is already here, obviously we can say that from the level of a conceptual understanding of that, where we hope that that is true, or we want to believe that that is true, or we doubt that, or we can really enter into a depth of the realized experience of that through the simple application of just some of the techniques that we've shared today, really sitting in that place of heart, opening into that focus of a contemplation of how able are we to really let love in, how able are we to really live from that place of love, how willing, as Denise was sharing, are we to step into that, how honest are we able to be with ourselves within relationship to our willingness to do that or our openness to that. These are all questions that we are deeply called to contemplate at this time as we are moving through these challenging times within our experience collectively. Really, we are opening into this focus of a question of how it is that we enter into this experience of greater intimacy with life, greater community, greater connection. And it all really comes down to love. It really comes down to that focus of deep, intimate relationship with our true nature. So I hope what we have shared here today is of some benefit to you, and may it also be of benefit to all of your relations. May it be of benefit to all beings, both known and unknown to you. May it touch your heart and their hearts with grace. May it touch your heart and their hearts with what is deeper than simply the words that we have shared. That you and them may truly open into a depth of a profound embodied realization of what it is that the words point towards. Blessed be.
Perfect. Thank you. And just to add to that, if you can drink plenty of water, putting that energy into the water as well, and going out into nature, hugging a tree. Trees are huge transmitters of energy, so going out into nature, it anchors the codes even more into Gaia, and trees being these huge antennas as well that kind of emanate the energy. So thank you so much, Damian. Thank you, everybody. Love, 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 love. We will see you soon.
Bye for now.